Hello and welcome to the real world industry analysis on Crowncare for the February 2019 MCS sitting. Now, so we're talking all about the dental industry today and what we can find out about it in regards to the context and what we might be able to expect in the exam based on what's happening in the real world. However, let's first put an example as to what we should be expecting and how we should use this analysis. So the first thing that I want to point out is that you need to have some idea of what the industry has, at least as a contextual point to how you approach the exam, because it can give you a good indication of how, the examiner will word the questions, how they can expect you to want at least an example to justify your means, or at least it'll give you bonus marks. Essentially, if you don't have any industry knowledge, you will sometimes be in a position in the exam where there's little, sort of embellishing points you can add in, which overall weakens your answer. So you do want a little bit of context where possible. And this is where the industry analysis comes in. So the first thing we have to remember is our requirement. We are a financial manager with Crowncare's head office. Now the first thing we have to remember is the requirement, our role. We are a financial manager with Crowncare's head office, and our primary responsibilities are management accounting. Now this is the examiner reminding us exactly what they want. We are more than at the OCS level. We're no longer trying to put the operations in place. We are now evaluating them, and our role is going to focus on this evaluation, and we're going to report to the senior financial manager, who then reports to the finance director. So it's very important that we have that in mind. So now we have to bridge the industry gap, because we start from zero unless you have an interest in the dental industry beforehand, and we need to get some context as to what we need to know. And we do need to have this idea of what some practical recommendations are based on what we see in the wider industry. Now, the first thing we have is an introduction to the industry, and if I'm brutally honest, we can mostly gloss over this as far as the video is concerned. This video is more a case of walking us through the key flashpoints rather than every point of the document. If you wish to have the biggest and widest sort of understanding, feel free to read through every page of the document, but I'm going to focus on, for the video, as more of a learning guide rather than a replacement. We'll look at the flashpoints. So essentially in 17th century, we have a very famous French doctor who found dentistry, and following 19th century crackpots, essentially, where we have people exploiting customers, not really having the right credentials, regulations come in. So we need to think about regulations for the industry as far as our company is concerned, new ones, how does it affect the business. And in terms of the 20th century and onwards, we see that more and more, awareness and health education is seeing less and less need. So in the 20th century, they encouraged you to do checkups by default rather than wait till pain arises. And this trend evolves into the modern day sort of aspect where we're now doing more cosmetic procedures and need less and less prevention or restoration procedures because our understanding is so much better as a wider population, at least in developed countries. Now, what do we typically do as a dental practice? Well, first and foremost, we clean teeth as part of the hygienist's role. We have examinations, which are checkups. Dentists want to check whether you're doing it well, what you can do to improve, whether you need any further work. And then there's fillings, which is essentially filling holes in your teeth, cavities. Then you have root canal, which is where you've got a severe cavity. It's caused some infection that you need to solve in the center of the tooth. And then we have braces and cosmetic procedures that alter our teeth in a very superficial way, where we can see it a very obvious way, so we can get some new teeth, or have some dentures that replace our teeth if we've lost them. And overall, the application is that we're founded in 1947, so we haven't actually been part of an extreme change in the industry yet. Before 1940, you can expect that's where the regulation happens, and following our founding date, there's going to be far less important changes happening in the regulatory sphere and also in terms of how things are done. The biggest change we have seen as a company is the 1990 move away from VHS patients because they were paying a lower rate, but we've not experienced huge change yet, so we might have to be aware that this could, present us with some issues we've not faced before. Likewise, this could apply to technologies and procedures, so change management could be a possible issue for us. In regards to the services, though, we covered all bases, so we can expect that our company strategically will always want to add any new products or procedures as they appear in the industry. So when someone researches a new procedure, you can expect us to be one of the forefront dental surgeries to adopt this procedure, because we cover everything at the moment by the looks of it. So this brings us on to customers and marketing. Now, marketing and customers is an interesting one. First and foremost, our customers are everywhere, okay? They are just everywhere. Everyone needs a dentist to some degree. If you leave your dental surgeries or procedures too long, you can have some severe health risks. So dentistry is going to be everywhere, but we see a higher density in these more developed countries. As you can see, the darker the shade of green, the more dentists per 1,000 people there are as part of the WHO data. Surprisingly, some developed nations have less dentists than maybe they'd like, but typically you can see the white or the sort of pale colours are all going to be in countries that have a lesser development, and hopefully over time they will get more dental care. So changing demands and trends as far as our customers are concerned is that they want cosmetic procedures, and they also want private dentistry because they just offer the best treatments. The health services typically don't offer the procedures that people want these days, at least not the ones that go beyond just your checkup and some fillings. They also want emotional dentistry. They want you to take care of their fears and anxieties of going to the dentist. There's a lot of stigmatization in the industry, so customers want that extra appeal, an extra customer service layer to present that they care about their patients, that there's nothing to fear. So it's very specific, and from what I gather, we do have good customer service and we do invest internally, but how far we take that, we don't quite know yet, so perhaps we can invest in our waiting rooms to make them more calming, relaxing, etc. So we are unlikely to ever lack customers, or at least our potential customer amount is never going to be bad. It's just about appealing to them. There's a very important distinction between whether you're generating customers because there's a lack of actual people who need or want this service versus just they don't want to go to you. And if we were lacking customers, it would simply be that they don't want to come to us because everyone needs a dentist, essentially. At least that's the logical way of thinking. Anyway, with this in mind, the locality and how the catchment area plays a role, we can always assume that we're going to have a large number of patients, and competition is only going to be fierce when we have a practice very close to us. And this is where the acquisition strategy comes in. We can limit competition by literally taking them over, things like that. But ultimately, to meet changing demands, we will need to maintain all cosmetic procedures and adopt newly created ones, because this is where everyone's going as far as customers are concerned. The revenues are trending more towards cosmetic procedures, so any new ones that are innovative and may have a big impact on the so-called selfie smile, we really want to be investing in that. As we move down to marketing, marketing is a difficult one because, again, it's playing on this emotional dentistry. People have a lot of fear and anxiety regarding dentists, so the marketing is all surrounding this sort of happy, friendly looking team, showing their credentials, all these kinds of things to make you feel like it's not going to be a horrible experience. So as we move down, it's going to have photos of the dentist, a brief biopsy of the different team members, and they're going to be review ratings and testimonials. It's all about building trust. Trust elements are key in the marketing. We haven't heard anything about Crowncare's marketing and website. If they lack a marketing budget or they don't have a website, that's a big concern, and we should always, take advantage of the possibilities and opportunities there. However, if they have it, we're probably going to see it in the unseen material. It's quite a big thing to lack to some degree, to not demonstrate what they do as far as marketing is concerned. So in that case, we may expect a question with some unseen material regarding marketing. We'll have to wait and see. But ultimately, in a marketing context, we could get a project management question about appealing to these customer trends of wanting their anxieties and fears to be sort of allayed, to help them feel trust towards the dentist. For example, the global dental market is set to expand at a compound annual growth rate of 5.6% through to 2021. So the fastest growth is going to be in China, so this informs us about where we need to maybe market the most, but also that our sort of revenues are quite safe moving forward, and this can inform our decision to acquire and expand. For example, we are extremely exposed to the risk of the domestic economy having a downturn or crash, as it is the only area or geography we operate within. To mitigate this, we should diversify and expand overseas. China is cited to be the biggest dental market of the future, and you could add in here as well, in this little section here, that we're set to see the dental market in general globally increase, but in China it is the biggest dental market of the future, and with this in mind, it would make a good candidate for us to expand into. Done. That's 1 point on your paragraph, on your answer to, say, a question regarding where we should expand to. For example, your first question in your exam might be, should we acquire SmileBright, or we have acquired SmileBright, this is a potential issue we've got, how to solve it, blah blah blah. The third or fourth question could be, following the success of acquiring SmileBright, we're looking to expand overseas, blah blah blah. What are the opportunities involved here? Or at least it might involve a SWOT analysis, and one of the opportunities you could mention is China being this biggest dental market of the future. So it's just these sort of contextual points you add in to these bigger questions that get you additional marks. They're called integration marks, and essentially they are supposed to judge how your answer links in together, the different requirements. However, it's also discretionary. So the examiner can just give you a mark because they like your answer or think it was very well thought out. And these contextual points really help you get them. So let's have a look at number 2 as well. Cloud-based management software gaining popularity. So again, it's about an IT trend, and the relevance is that we don't really know whether our IT is cloud-based or not. We know that cloud-based is gaining popularity because it's more secure, and there's an increasing competition, which means that they are becoming more affordable. So, for example, to mitigate the risk of our reliance on IT systems functioning, we should consider investing in cloud-based services instead of our current setup, which appears to be localized to each practice. And then following on from this, we could say, in this little bit here, having them cloud-based means that any sort of fault that happens will probably be less likely because a specialist IT company is looking after it, and B, it will be fixed by experts, as opposed to currently where we have IT systems on our own computers, by the sounds of it at least. This will mean that any issue is going to be ours to deal with. We may need to call up an IT consultant, get them to come over, blah blah blah, whereas cloud-based can be solved quickly by an expert that actually is supposed to handle this as part of his job. That kind of thing. You have to write it in that many words, but you can bring in the fact that it mitigates risks of IT systems going down. That's pretty much your point, as long as that point is relevant to your overall question, such as, what are the different risks as part of our procedures? You could say, we have a risk of reliance on IT systems, because if they collapse, it's our responsibility to fix them. But if we use cloud-based, an IT expert that works for the cloud company will be able to be working on it within seconds of us reporting it, and it would be their responsibility, and they'd have the expertise to do it fast. That kind of thing. So let's have a look at one more. let's skip that one. That was a little bit boring. This one we've kind of looked at in the previous one. Okay, so quality is the most important in dental suppliers. So we see the industry is looking for highest quality, but that reliance on quality is dropping a little bit, and price is increasing, and breadth of selection. So variety and price are increasing in relevance, but overall quality is most important. So it relates to our supply chain management essentially, and we can't afford substandard quality. So if we were to get a question on some supplier relations, sourcing a new supplier, we can suggest that the whole industry is seeking quality from suppliers, and we shouldn't sacrifice this. So reports suggest the dental industry is seeking quality from suppliers, and this is not a coincidence. Due to the threat of legal proceedings from poorly produced prosthetics, amongst other cosmetic procedures, it is important that Crowncare regularly evaluate and choose suppliers based on quality. So it's that critical success factor as part of our supply chain management. So you can bring this into several different questions, but essentially, as long as this is relevant, this is the kind of way you integrate these contextual examples. You don't need to explain them too much, just give the core point. The examiner will believe you. They'll take your word for it as long as you present it in a way that's short, brief, but still to the point, and you mention why that's relevant. So with that in mind, that is the industry analysis. There are 25 of these to look through if you're interested. They will all help you with different exam topics to give you a better idea of how to integrate the context into your answer. Now, finally, I wanted to say again, reading through the entire document will give you the biggest, leg up in this field. But if you're short on time, this video will suffice as far as an overview is concerned. I hope you enjoyed listening, and hopefully you've seen many of the other pre-scene analysis videos I've done as well. But with that said, I will see you hopefully in another video.
Hello, it's me again. I just wanted to take a few minutes of your time to first extend my hope that you enjoyed the free sample that you've just viewed, but also to just sort of explain what else Astranti do to help you pass your exam really effectively, provided you found our sample particularly interesting and insightful, of course. So, of course, we have a study text for every module, ranging from P1 to F3, and the certificate level is also free on our website. So we have study texts throughout the CIMA course, every module you could hope to study. The certificate level are free, as I mentioned, and then the rest of them, ranging from P1 to F3, are all available to purchase. Alongside this, if you're not so much a study text kind of student and you prefer a visual way of learning, we have the course videos. We essentially break down the study text into bite-sized presentations with a walkthrough, and it's a very, very, very engaging way of explaining the course. Following this, we have the pre-scene analysis, where we break down each pre-scene sitting into a number of videos, going through the whole document, but also adding a top 10 recommendations for what will come up in the exam, and also a strategic analysis where we put all the models you'd find in E2, for example, to the pre-scene itself, whichever that may be at the time. Alongside this, we provide an industry analysis. This is a document and accompanying video which help you give that contextual information in your exam. So, for example, if the pre-scene's on the oil industry, the industry analysis will break down the oil industry, the current topics, trends, issues, what the competitive market looks like, all those kind of aspects, all condensed into one so you can spend your time wisely in your study period. Following on from this, when you actually want to practice all this knowledge, we have mock exams for all of our materials. So StudyText has a generic mock exam based on the module, whereas the pre-scene analysis has mocks available to purchase that are based on that specific pre-scene, that are targeted to the key issues we believe will come up. And if you're not content with just doing those mock exams and practicing that way, we have a marking and feedback system where you can purchase the ability to send in your paper, have it marked by a CIMA qualified accountant, and get personalized feedback on whether you can improve X or Y area. And sort of finally, if you will, if you're feeling really underprepared and that exam is coming really, really soon, the masterclasses are offered by Astranti, and they're essentially a crash course in anything you could want for that topic. So if it's a masterclass on the pre-scene, it's going to give you absolutely everything that you could possibly need to know about the pre-scene in one rather really condensed sitting. Likewise, if it was the F3 masterclass, you would have all of F3 gone through in a very crash course style presentation and video link. You can also purchase it post-stream as opposed to viewing it live, all these kind of aspects. We are very, very confident that these materials will help you get the exam success that you want. So we have a pass guarantee. Provided you fill out a form which demonstrates that you have utilised our materials to a large extent and actually taken the time to study them, and you have unfortunately failed, we will offer you the same materials again for the next sitting as a consolidatory offer to ensure that you can get back on the horse and get that exam grade that you want. With that said, thank you very much for watching the sample video. I hope you enjoyed it and it gives you a lot of confidence in Astranti and your SEMA future.